How you doing, everybody? Randy Richard in the shop. In this episode of the modeling of the Fusion engine, what we're going to do is we're going to get the bushings in for the cylinder pivot rod, and we're going to get we'll draw the little spring caps, retainer caps that go on the rod. We'll get a spring in here and a couple lock nuts. All right, we're going to start here, and this is, you have your drawing open, of course, and this is where we left off in the previous video. Our cylinder is movable. We have a jointed in and connected pivot rod and pivot base and screws in there. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get some bushings on here that we didn't put in. So what we're going to pick is here, we're going to pick the base as the component that is active. And we're going to add a component to the base. The bushings are integral to the base more than anything else. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to add a component to the base. That's why we picked it as active. We can turn off everything having to do with the cylinder just by clicking on the little light bulb for the cylinder. If we wanted to leave the rod on for some reason, we could. And we could just turn off the cylinder body if we wanted to. And we could turn off, we could open up the pivot rod assembly. We could turn off all the little screws. We could just turn on and off what we want to have on and off. But in this case, we really don't need anything having to do with the cylinder for now. We can just turn it off. And we're going to turn the origin back on so we see where that origin is. And it's way over there. Which is okay. So we don't really need the origin to be moved, really. But so we're just going to draw our bushings right in place anyway. So we're going to start over here. There's actually two bushings that go in here. They're made of bronze, so it's pretty simple. So we're going to hit S for our shortcuts, create sketch, and select the end surface of our boss here. C for circle. We're going to select this, pick up the center of that circle, and this boss the diameter was 5/16. So we're just going to draw it right to that. We don't have to even type in a dimension. Just select that dimension. We're going to C for circle again, and we're going to draw the bore. Now it's 0.1875. That's the size of a number 1032 screw. Stop sketch. Do E for extrude, and we're just going to extrude the donut. Right? The bushing length will be 0.375, I think. And we don't want to join. We want new body. There we go. New body. No, we want new component. Okay, so we want to do a new component right here. This is another way to create a component. And since we already have base selected as our active component, when we say new component, it will add it to the base underneath the base. And you'll see over here it says component 6. Where we can name it. We'll go name it, say bushing. Or we'll say cylinder rod bushing. Okay? Pretty simply done, right? Now, but we need one on the other side. Do we need to draw it again? All right, the bushing length, I just looked it up, is actually 1/4 inch. So we're going to go select down at the bottom, we're going to select the feature, the extrude feature, and change that to 0.25. Say okay. There we go. Now we have a little shorter bushing, but we need one on the other end. So the easiest thing to do is just right click, copy, right click out there in the open and say paste. Add another bushing. We can just drag it over, see? Right there, we'll say point to point. We're going to select the end out there with the center. Like we've done before, we're going to select this face. And we're going to select that face in the center. And it will make it flush on the end. Say OK. Now we put in our 2 bushings. Pretty easy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do all these bushings at once. We need 2 bushings in here also. So let's go over here. We'll just S, create sketch, same thing. C for circle, pick up the center to the edge. C for circle, and this one's 5/16, 0.3125. No, I think this one's 2.5. Stop sketch. E for extrude. Minus 0.25. They're the same. Oops. We don't want to do a join at a feature. Back up. Don't want to do a join. We don't even want to do a new body. Oh, yeah, we don't have component anymore. Oh, well, we'll say new body, right? We don't have component. We had it the first time. You only get like 1 chance, you know. That's okay. We're going to go over here to body. We know that's that body right there. See that? See how it highlights it? We're going to right click on it. We're going to say create component from body. Now it created another component. See? Yeah. Another way to make a component. All these different ways. Crank shaft bushing. You can call them bearings if you want. It really wouldn't matter. Now we're just going to do copy, paste, drag it over here so we can see it, make it easy, point to point. Get our center here, done. Okay, now we have all our bushings in. There we go, nice and simple. Let's do A for appearance. We're going to add something else to our palette. Let's add some metal, bronze. Let's do bronze, right? Bronze. Yeah, it's going to end up being kind of machined. Yeah, we'll make them stand out. So we'll drag up machined bronze into our palette. And we'll click faces, and we'll drag it down, and let's see, maybe I can select this. Wait a second, component. Yeah, I just want the, if you just want to make sure you get the right component, but there we go. And it will turn the whole thing bronze. Here, turn our piece. Oh, there it got it right, because those are all related. They're copies, so it will make them all bronze. There we go. Our bushings are done. Now we can bring our cylinder back, and you'll see they're all in place. There you go. Now we go up here. There it looks nice and pretty. All right, now we'll move on and get the rest of the spring and little spring retainer caps and nuts in here for the cylinder. So we're going to change our focus back to the cylinder. And shrink all this up. Keep these things, if you keep these things kind of sucked up, they don't get in the way so much. One thing is when you get the drawing over here, close over here, you won't be able to select things that are close to this in this region. I think you can, even if you shorten this up a little bit, it helps. But so anything underneath this box here, if the drawing or the model is close over here, you won't be able to select it. You have to move the model away. So if you have trouble with, you find you have trouble with that, just move the model to the side a little bit, and you should be able to select things. So anyway, so we'll select our cylinder again, and we can hide the base. We don't need to see the base right now. And what we're going to do is we're going to make two little caps that will encapsulate the spring. And these are really pretty simple to draw and all that. But we're going to include them as part of the pivot rod base. Okay, we'll include them underneath that. It's kind of all part of the pivot rod. So we can turn off. So when we select the pivot rod base, the cylinder, turns to a ghost again. Okay, and if you want to get rid of it, like I said, just turn off the body of the cylinder, and away it goes. Little caps, we're just going to draw their profiles and do a revolve just like we did with the rod. It's much easier, and you can really refine the shape of the cap of how you want to machine it if you're going to machine it out of solid brass, because they're not very big. All right, we got rid of the rod, and because we really don't need the rod, we'll turn it sideways here. We'll select S for create sketch, and we're going to create sketch on the Z plane, which is in line with the center line. And we're just going to come out here. We're not going to draw it right there. We'll just come out here a little ways. Now, there's some nice little marks along here. So we'll come out here about 1.5 inches. You see the 1.5 line from the apex of the origin. And we'll just start drawing some lines. We'll zoom in a little bit here, and we'll go 1, 2, 5. They don't have to be very big, and very tall, I should say. And then we're going to make that a construction line because we don't really need it. We just use it for some referencing. Our basic shape is going to be like this, and over to the 1/8 inch mark. We'll end there. We'll dimension, not yet, but we're going to do an offset command. So O for offset, we're going to select this, and we're going to drag that down here to set our kind of wall thickness, and let's make it 30 thousandths. Sounds good. Now you don't have to have the units in here. You can have the units inches if you want. I could type in millimeters. It will change that to a millimeter dimension, but you don't have to have them in there. So anytime it turns red, it doesn't like it. It has to be black. If you type in formula stuff, make sure it's black. It won't accept it. Say OK. There. Now we have a 30 thousandths offset for that. We'll put a line in here because this will represent the bore, and we can dimension that. That's 0.1875 divided by 2. Don't have to. Oh, it moved that line, right? Well, when that happens, you don't want that line to move, so just back up. Right? Undo the commands, and go over and say. Take fix, unfix command on the constraints and click on that line, and it will turn green. Now it won't move. Now the other part will move. 0.094 or 0.1875 divided by 2. There, that moved down, stretched it down. We don't know what the top is. What's the top? The top from there to there, 0.375 divided by 2, let's say. How's that look? That looks pretty good. So I could take a piece of 5/16 stock and make this part out of it. And we can put a line over here. Maybe a really small little part, make it out of brass. And we have our bore, we have our diameter here, but on our outside, oh no, I'm going to back up here. the outside needs to be, yeah, 3/8 diameter. Right, we're good. No, we're good. I'm sorry. Anyway, and the diameter inside though is set, and it's got to be 5/16 because of our spring. So that dimension needs to go away because it will constrain things. So let's go dimension. Let's see what our wall thickness is. Oh, it still doesn't like it, right? Because of the offset constraint. See that there? Click on that, hit delete, and then we can say dimension. You'll see how it turned to the parallel constraint, 0.3125 divided by 2. That's what we really need. So that will set our wall thickness. And there's still plenty. It actually made it wider. And if you want to check it, you can just hit dimension real quick. And so whenever you get this, adding this dimension will over-constrain the sketch. Choose OK to create a driven dimension. So, OK, a driven dimension is a dimension that is driven by the sketch. And when you stretch it out here, it will have parenthesis around it. You can't change that, edit that sketch dimension. But sometimes you want it there just as an information number for you when you're referencing the sketch and looking at it. That's all. You can use it as a measuring device sometimes. Sometimes I'll do that. As I'm drawing something, I go, well, I want to remember what that is, and this way it's always right there in front of me. It will change as you change other things. If I change that dimension, it would change. So it's at 31 thousandths. So my 30 thousandths dimension was real good. Real good guess. So there, we're pretty much set. We got our the ID, the OD, and our inside bore, and our thickness. We'll stop sketch. We'll do a revolve again. Set profile axis will be that construction line, and say new component. Say OK. There we go. New component. That looks just fine, right? Now, if you wanted to soften those edges and all that good stuff, you could say fillet. Let's put a little fillet on here and a little fillet on there. Not very much. Let's say 10. Yeah, a little 10,000 fillet on there. And actually, probably we ought to do this edge also. If we could, right there. And, two edges are selected. Let's see here. Let me do that one over again. Fillet. Let's do all these edges. There. And then say 10. There. That looks pretty good. Now they're all nice and smooth and should slip right on there. So now we have one, but we really need two of these. So we could give it a name. Spring cap. We can say right off the bat, we'll just say copy and paste, and we'll just drag it away so you can see what you're doing. Grab this ring and you can just rotate it around because we need them facing each other and 180 degrees. And I don't know. Right, it's probably far enough for now. We can adjust them later. Say OK. Now they should have remained nice in line with the Z-axis for us, which is perfect. You can go back and turn the rod on. They're right there on the rod. And now if you move them, like before, they're not locked down, right? And so we want to leave them in place until we can lock them in. Now, we're going to just create joints for them right now so we don't move them around. So I'm just going to click on joint again. And I'm going to select this here. I'm going to select the back end because it's easier to select. And there we go. And we got the center. You can see the little eye in the center here. That's what we want. Now I'm going to select I'm going to attach it to the rod. Now, I'm going to select the end of the rod right there, and you're going to see why. Now it's going to move it there, but I can offset I can offset it in any direction I want right here with a number. See? So I can set this at any time during my model and change that distance, right? So we're just going to set it right there for now and call it good. And it's going to be a rigid. We're going to do the same to this one. Same thing. Get that surface. We'll get center, and we're going to set the center. And we'll just do an offset and just set it somewhere down here. And rigid, and say OK. Now they're locked to the rod, at least, and they won't go anywhere. But I can easily change their placement by changing that offset. And they'll rotate with the pivot rod. Okay, now we're going to insert a couple nuts. We'll make master car again. We'll go to nuts. We'll just use some. Let's see. I think use whatever you want, but you want to be able to lock them. Hex nuts, thread 1032. There we go. Brass. Let's see. We should be able to find some brass narrow hex nuts there. That's what I wanted. Brass narrow hex nuts 1032. There we go. Product detail. Oops. Go to step. It's already selected because I'm in the program and I've been using it. So save. And it puts my nut in there. There we go. Oops. Just drag the arrow down so we keep it in line. Oh, what happened here? We want to rotate. Oh, what happened there? Now we just cancel it. There's our nut. See it sitting there? So we just do a move. We'll do a translate. I want it because I want to keep it in line here. And then I can do a rotate. Well, yeah, this free move is really works really well. But see how the pivot is? The pivot got weird on me for some reason. I don't know why that is doing that. Anyway, let's do a point to point, right? Anyway, if you select that face and get the center, and I select this face and get this center, it does that. See how that does that? And that's not what we want, is it? It should have. Let's do a point to point again. This plane, that's center, and make sure you have the plane there. And now I didn't move it. Yeah. Move this point to point. Component. Let's do that and then rotate it. Then do a point to point. Then select point to point there. Now we go. Now we got it put in place. Sometimes doing a joint just right off the bat can really save you a lot of little problems with the move command. The move command is kind of it's hard to determine sometimes what it's going to do. I should say. Joints sometimes work a little better. But we're going to do a joint. We could, because this is always going to be tight against that nut. So we could do that joint right now, but we could also add another nut. So we'll do a joint. We'll capture position. We don't want it to move. And we can even, well, let's hear. We'll select this side of it. Just watch this. And then I'm going to select this face again and that center. And now it put it like inside the nut. Or well, there. Because a lot of times it flips it. Well, it flipped it over for us anyway. That's nice. Because if you flipped it, it's going to be inside. See? There we go. And we'll rigid. So now this is a nut is attached to the cap. And then the next nut will attach to this nut. We're just going to select now. You don't see the nut. Just scroll over here. You have to scroll. There's a little scroll bar on the edge. Scroll down, and there's the nut right there. See, this is where it helps. So sometimes if you don't, I don't care about the part numbers right now. So I'm just going to say nut. Okay. Now we'll put down nut 1, and then I'm just going to copy it. Right. Copy. Then you can just do keyboard commands. Control V. For paste, and it's going to put another nut there, and I'm just going to drag the nut away so I can do a joint and just say okay, and then I'll do a joint, and I'm going to select this one in the center, this one face right in the center. And they'll go to lock together. And now, since those look all lined up and pretty, they'll never be that way when you lock them. If you want, add some angle to it, 45, and now they look offset. And now they look kind of like they're really locked, like they're lock nuts. Now we're going to go A for appearance, and we're going to make those out of brass. And they'll be nice and shiny. We'll add that to our palette. And we're going to make this out of, we're just leaving it on component. And since we made copies, it makes them both that way. And close. Okay, you guys, we still have to add a spring. And I think what we're going to do is we're just going to draw our own spring. And that will eat up a lot more time here. So let's end this video right here. And we'll bring back all of our parts. Let's bring back all of our parts so we can see where we're finishing up at here. And I think that's about it. And we have joints are kind of showing on us here. Let's see what else we got here. We got some more joints we can turn off. Well, we still have some origins in there. They're turned on. We turn that off. Let's see what else we got here. There's an origin. There we go. Okay, you kind of got to search around to get rid of all that miscellaneous stuff. So we almost have that placed just where we want it placed. What we could do is we could actually join that to here. Well, I'd rather have it jointed to this right now, because it will turn that way when we rotate our cylinder. See how the nuts are turning? Actually, all those things are turning, but they're smooth and you don't really. Anyway, so that looks pretty good, and we'll just leave it here for now. Made some good progress on this engine, and with the bushings and the rod and the caps. We'll just draw our own spring, and that's another complicated step here, but we can do that. We have a lot to go on this. There's a lot here to do, and if you have any questions, be sure to, you can either send me an email or put it in the comments. And what I'm trying to do is make some short videos. If people have questions, maybe make a real quick short video on that one point, like how did you do this or how did you do that, and type of thing. If you have just sort of a quick fusion tip type thing, and I could show that in a real quick short video during the week or something. Thank you guys. And thanks for watching. Please watch all the rest of the videos in this series. Step up your game with Fusion a little bit. Like I said, I'm not an absolute expert on this, but I can maybe I can help you out. That's all I can say. This is fun stuff to do. I enjoy doing this, and I hope I can share enough with you. So please stick with me, and there's lots to come. And please subscribe and click the notification bell and all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.